My cousin was selling used personal clothing on a second-hand platform. Her descriptions claimed the items had been worn for a full week, guaranteeing their original scent and flavor. In just half a month, she earned tens of thousands of yuan. She came to boast to me. After hearing her out, I urged her to quickly return the money and stop. If the personal clothes she sold hadn't actually been worn, it was fraud. If they had truly been worn, it was the dissemination of obscene material. Either way, it was a criminal act. Furthermore, once her personal information was exposed, she could be targeted by malicious individuals, and the consequences would be dire. My cousin, Xiaoyu, turned pale with fright, hastily saying she wouldn't do it anymore. But then, the police came looking for me. It was then I realized that all the seller information my cousin had filled in belonged to me. Even the seller's sample photos sent to customers were my photos, with her face swapped in using AI. Just when I had painstakingly proven my innocence, I returned home only to be stalked and murdered in the hallway by a pervert. I opened my eyes, and I was back on the day my cousin wanted to take me to earn big money. "Cousin, come in here with me." My cousin, Xiaoyu, pulled me into the bedroom. She stealthily closed the door, cutting off the lively chatter from the living room. Just like in my previous life, she pulled out her phone and began sharing her achievements over the past half-month with me. "Cousin, I've discovered a fantastic way to make money recently. I've earned this much in less than half a month. Do you want to be my partner?" She held up 6 fingers. I said, 600. She shook her head, her expression growing even more excited. I played along. 6,000? She burst out laughing. 60,000? I feigned shock, covering my mouth in a gasp. Seeing my disbelief, she opened her bank statement for me to see. Then, she began to persuade me to join her as a partner. I had some knowledge of the law and followed many legal education bloggers online. In my previous life, I had immediately extinguished her intention to make money through this illicit path and desperately tried to dissuade her. I once saw someone in your industry live streaming with a lawyer. If you actually wear them, it's profiting from the dissemination of obscene material. If you haven't worn them, it's fraud. I absolutely will not get involved in anything illegal like this. You'd best return the money you've earned quickly, or else when this breaks out, you'll be arrested. Moreover, don't you wonder what kind of people buy these things online if not perverts? By then, they'll trace you, get your personal information, and your safety won't be guaranteed anymore. After I finished speaking, Xiaoyu's face betrayed fear. She immediately said she wouldn't sell anymore and would return all the money. She repeatedly warned me not to tell anyone. But who would have thought that the moment I turned my back, she had filled in all the seller's personal information with mine? She even secretly saved photos I had posted on my social media, using AI to swap my face into the seller's sample photos that she sent to those perverted men. Thinking of this, my hands clenched with hatred. Heaven truly has eyes. It granted me a chance at rebirth. This time, I absolutely wouldn't miss this opportunity for revenge. Seeing that I remained silent, Xiaoyu thought I was hesitating. Her tone became urgent. "Cousin, don't hesitate any longer. Honestly, I'm not short on partners. If you weren't my biological cousin, would I even share this money-making method with you?" I clenched my jaw, barely stopping myself from slapping her. By this logic, should I thank her for dragging a close cousin like me down to hell with her? If I hadn't experienced the tragedy of my past life, I couldn't have imagined that the cousin I trusted most since childhood would treat me so cruelly. Looking at her gleeful expression now, eagerly trying to pull me into her scheme, I couldn't help but laugh. Xiaoyu frowned. "Cousin, what are you laughing at? Are you even listening to me?" I pointed at a foot peeking out from under the door. "The fish has bitten the bait. How can we let it go so easily?" Xiaoyu reacted, yanking the door open. The person outside, engrossed in eavesdropping, nearly tumbled into the room. "Hey, what are you doing? I almost fell." My stepsister, Enki, glared angrily at Xiaoyu and me. "Great, a chance to make money, and you're secretly keeping it from me. Xiaoyu, I'm your cousin too. If you don't let me join, I'll go tell auntie and uncle and see if they don't scold you to death." I feigned fear, turning to Xiaoyu. "Xiaoyu, Enki is our sister too. It's such a good opportunity, let her join us." Hearing me act submissive, Enki didn't even bother to take off her shoes. She swaggered onto the bed, crossed her legs, and began giving orders. "Xiaoyu, kinking, I'm ordering both of you now. Tell me everything you just discussed in the room. I watched Xiaoyu seethe with anger but still have to recount everything to Anki, my heart swelling with delight. In my previous life, when I was ambushed and murdered by that pervert in the hallway, Anki clearly heard my cries for help, but chose to stand by and do nothing. Afterwards, she even fabricated stories in the family chat group, claiming that my biological mother died early, that I had a rebellious personality, didn't listen to her mother's teachings, and that my chaotic private life brought disaster upon myself, calling it my just deserts. I had long known that she and her biological mother, Fang, were two peas in a pod, but I never expected them to be this vicious. In this life, I would spare neither her nor Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu, I still don't quite understand how this makes money. You said they have to be worn for a whole week, but who doesn't bathe or change clothes for a week? Wouldn't they stink to high heaven? Xiaoyu burst out laughing, looking at me as if I were an idiot. Sis, I just said that. How could anyone actually wear them for a whole week? That would be so inefficient. Anki naively said, so you mean we can buy new clothes online and then resell them? Xiaoyu immediately shook her head. No, that won't work. If you sell them without wearing them, wouldn't I be committing fraud? Are you stupid, sis? I was jolted. Oh, so she knew everything. In my previous life, I truly was a fool, thinking of educating her about the law and persuading her to stop. Wasn't I just walking myself into a trap? Perhaps at that time, she had already completely resented me, and seeing that I wouldn't be an accomplice, she found every way to destroy me. Sis, let me tell you, just take newly bought underwear and rub it down there a lot. As long as it has a scent, they won't suspect anything. Of course, the stronger the scent, the more satisfied the customers would be and the more repeat business they'd get. Hearing these words, the leftover late-night snack in my stomach threatened to come up from sheer disgust. What kind of perverted fetish was this? Truly sickening. But Anki, on the other hand, seemed incredibly excited. That's so simple. I can make dozens for you in a day. Just wait, I have a pile of unwashed underwear and socks at my place. I'll bring them over to you. Anki had poor hygiene habits. I had known that for a long time. In middle and high school, when she was a boarder, she loved collecting dirty clothes and sending them home for her mother, Fang, to wash. Fang always doted on her. She even washed Anki's underwear and socks from childhood into adulthood. As a result, even now in university, Anki still took them home on weekends for her mother to wash. Xiaoyu hadn't expected Anki to be like that either. She was momentarily shocked, her mouth agape for a long time. I still remembered the main point, so I spoke up and asked her. I get the gist of it now. So Xiaoyu, what's your platform account? Let me follow you. In my previous life, when I was taken to the police station for questioning, the police officer used the excuse that it wasn't convenient to disclose too much case information and didn't tell me Xiaoyu's account. But now, Xiaoyu suddenly became wary, looking me over with a smile that wasn't quite a smile. Her voice was still sweet, but to my ears, it sounded like a venomous snake flicking its tongue. Cousin, you're busy. It's enough for me to manage the account alone. You just need to be in charge of supplying the goods to me, and we'll split the profit 50-50 for each item sold. My customer base is very stable. I guarantee you a monthly income of 100,000. Before I could say anything, Anki immediately bristled. Xiaoyu, Kinking might be busy, but I'm not. I have to manage the account with you, or I'll go tell auntie and uncle. Seeing the tense atmosphere between the two of them, I stepped in to mediate. Xiaoyu, why don't you let Anki join first? I've been busy with my graduation thesis lately and don't have time for this. I'll join you too once I'm done. Xiaoyu reluctantly nodded. I naturally knew she didn't want Anki involved. After all, with my stepmother Fang's personality, if she found out Xiaoyu was leading her daughter into this, wouldn't she tear Xiaoyu to shreds? Xiaoyu also didn't want to invite trouble, but the person she truly resented was me. The person she wanted to harm, from beginning to end, was only me. I couldn't forget the words she said to me before the police took her away. Kinking, your mother's dead, so you're going to steal mine? My mother is just your aunt. By what right does she care more about you than her own daughter? I hate you, I want you to die. Up until that point, I still thought her hatred for me had been vented through slander and fabrication. I never expected her to be so malicious as to reveal my personal information to those perverts and incite them to murder me. If that's the case, in this life, I wouldn't show any mercy to her or Anki. All of you can go to hell. That evening, passing by Anki's room, I saw through the crack in the door that she was on a video call with Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu was personally instructing her on how to take the seller's sample photos. In the dim light of the bedroom, Enki stood, wearing seductive lingerie, contorting into various provocative poses. On the other end of the line, Xiaoyu continuously encouraged Enki. Relax even more, Enki sis. I just realized your figure is even better than Kinking's. You can't tell when you wear regular clothes. Make your expression a little more seductive. I'll take a lot of photos for you, guaranteed to make sales skyrocket after customers see them. You were born to eat this bowl of rice. You're much better than Kinking. Enki hated being compared to me the most, especially since my academic achievements were always better than hers from a young age, and my personality was more docile, making me more favored by the elders on my father's side. But at this moment, listening to Xiaoyu's relentless flattery, she thoroughly enjoyed it, saying with a proud expression, "That Kinking girl is just like her mother, falsely pure and virtuous, and in the end, didn't she just die young due to bad luck? It only benefited my mother anyway. My mother says she only likes people like me. You shouldn't look for her to cooperate. Aren't I better at making money than her?" For so many years living under my stepmother Fang, I endured all the insults and disgust her and her daughter inflicted upon me. But I couldn't tolerate Enki's filthy mouth cursing my mother. I pushed the door open violently, raised my phone, and rapidly snapped pictures of the person in the room. "Enki, shut your stinking mouth, or I'll immediately send these photos on my phone to your mother to see if she'll beat you to death or me." On the other end, Xiaoyu heard my voice and immediately hung up, pretending to sever ties with Enki. But I knew that deep down, they were both the same kind of person. Enki, guilt-stricken, put her clothes back on, her voice weak as she threatened me. "Kinking, you also said you wanted to do this business. If you dare to blab, don't expect to earn a single cent." I took a deep breath, trying to calm my anger, and returned to my room. I couldn't turn against them just yet. I still had to witness them making a fortune first. A few days later, Enki strutted in front of me, carrying the trendiest Chanel bag online. "Xiaoyu and I are having a great time collaborating. I think she doesn't need you anymore. You just focus on writing your thesis. Don't meddle in our business anymore." I feigned disappointment and dissatisfaction, saying, "How can that be? I'm still Xiaoyu's biological cousin. How can she not let me earn money with her? Once I'm done with my work, it won't be your concern anymore." Enki scoffed, then ran to my father and her mother, Fang, to show off her new acquisition. "Mom, Dad, look at what gifts I bought for you too." From her bag, she pulled out a chunky gold necklace. Fang's eyes lit up, and she grinned from ear to ear. My daughter truly has talent, unlike some who only know how to sponge off others with no filial piety at all and whose studies have gone completely to ruin. I looked at my father. He hesitated, wanting to speak but then stopped, just like countless times before. He wanted to defend me but didn't dare, ultimately siding with Fang and her daughter. Enki winked at me triumphantly. I knew this was her revenge for me taking her photos last time. Watching Fang examine the gold necklace in her hand over and over, I merely found it amusing. If she knew how her daughter earned this necklace, would she still be so happy? I shook my head, not really sure. After all, in her youth, Fang herself had relied on selling her body to cling to my father, destroying my parents' marriage. Now her daughter was following suit. Perhaps she'd even be proud. But this time, I wouldn't be as merciful as my mother. I would make her daughter's end far more tragic than hers. Meanwhile, Xiaoyu still hadn't given up trying to rope me in. She even created a 3-person chat group, suggesting we go for Japanese food to celebrate their recent earnings. Enki naturally didn't want to invite me, but given her good relationship with Xiaoyu lately, she grudgingly agreed. Enki and I arrived at the entrance of the mall, facing a corpulent middle-aged man whose lewd smile and improper gaze were fixed on us. The moment we brushed past him, Enki suddenly shrieked, "Pervert, you dirty old man." The man, enraged by Enki's sudden scream, immediately flared up, raising his hand and delivering a sharp slap to her face. The crisp sound of the slap echoed. Enki looked at the man, who was screaming wildly in disbelief, while quickly pulling out her phone, intending to call the police. "How dare you hit me? I'll call the police and have you arrested, you damn pervert." A strange smile appeared on the man's face. He suddenly leaned close to Enki's ear and whispered something. Enki's face instantly turned ashen, like a bird startled by a twig. Clutching her swollen, red cheek, she ran desperately towards the escalator. A kind auntie, seeing this, quickly called out to her, concerned, asking what her relationship with the man was and if she needed help calling the police. Anki snapped back irritably, "Mind your own business." I looked back at the perverted man. He stood calmly in place, his eyes full of provocation, as if saying, "Go ahead and call the police if you dare, I'm not afraid." I secretly calculated. It's better to avoid trouble than to invite it. I wasn't foolish enough to stick my neck out for someone like Anki. Arriving at the Japanese restaurant on the 4th floor of the mall, as soon as she saw Xiaoyu, Anki tearfully threw herself into her arms, sobbing piteously. "Xiaoyu, earlier at the mall entrance, I encountered a pervert. He said he had smelled my underwear and I was scared to death. Tell me he won't." It was lunchtime, and many people were passing by the restaurant entrance. Anki couldn't control her volume, attracting quite a few curious glances. I quietly put on my mask, keeping my distance from them, not wanting to be misunderstood. Xiaoyu's eyes flashed with a hint of disgust, but outwardly she feigned concern, gently comforting her. "Anki, sis, that pervert was just talking nonsense. He's definitely used similar words to scare many other girls. Don't scare yourself." Anki's face was still tense. She gripped Xiaoyu's hand, repeatedly confirming, "Xiaoyu, those sellers sample photos you told me to take. Remember to cover my face. Don't let my personal information be revealed." Xiaoyu's expression froze for a moment but quickly returned to normal. She resolutely assured her, "Anki, sis, you're my dearest cousin. How could I ever harm you?" Anki nodded, as if a great weight had been lifted, but I knew her misfortune was coming soon. Over the next week, Anki continuously received harassing calls from strange men. At first, she patiently blocked each number, but later, the calls became increasingly outrageous, with extremely vulgar and offensive language. She went berserk, violently throwing her phone to the ground, screaming frantically, "You perverted bastards, get lost, all of you get out." She began to suspect that Xiaoyu might have leaked her personal information, so she called to confront her. "Lately, I've been getting harassing calls from old men. Did you leak my phone number?" Xiaoyu seemed a little confused. "How could I leak your phone number? I'm the one who ships the packages. All the phone numbers I filled in are mine." Afraid Anki wouldn't believe her, she even took a photo of a parcel she had sent. Indeed, it had Xiaoyu's personal information on it. Anki was stunned, mumbling, "That's strange, how do they know my phone number?" Xiaoyu thought for a moment, then explained to Anki. "Anki, sis, personal information isn't private anymore these days. It might have been leaked when you shopped online. From now on, just set your phone to block all such unknown calls." I watched them racking their brains, almost bursting into laughter. They surely couldn't have dreamed that the mastermind behind all this was actually me. I wasn't letting go of Anki, nor Xiaoyu. For the past half-month, I had tirelessly run around public restrooms. Wasn't it to give them this little surprise? As for Xiaoyu, she probably was already used to these kinds of harassing calls, so she didn't react at all. The next day, a package was at the door. My stepmother, Fang, came home from work and casually brought it in, opening it. She was startled by what she found. It was full of adult toys for men. In an instant, the atmosphere in the house froze, becoming incredibly awkward and tense. Anki's face turned white, her eyes showing terror and panic. She vehemently insisted the package wasn't hers. "Kinking's mother has a boyfriend at school. This must be for her. It has nothing to do with me." Her desperate attempt to distance herself was a dead giveaway. I calmly tore off the shipping label and read the recipient's information aloud. Recipient, Anki Liu. Phone, 154. Fang's face turned pale. She roared at me, "Stop reading, haven't we lost enough face? What are you doing watching this spectacle, you little wretch? Get back to your room." I obediently nodded, went back to my room, and closed the door, my mood supremely joyful. From outside, Anki's frantic cries echoed. "I told you I haven't been messing around with men outside. Why don't you believe me? I don't know who sent this to me. My phone keeps getting harassing calls from strange men. I don't know who they are." Fang grabbed a broom and frantically lashed out at Anki. It seemed Anki had truly enraged her this time. Before, I would get beaten like that just for buying bad vegetables, undercooking rice, or not washing clothes cleanly enough. It wasn't until later, when my aunt sent me to boarding school and I came home less often, that my life improved slightly. For all these years, this was the first time Fang had laid such a cruel hand on her biological daughter, Anki. It was just a pity she was too late. Anki was now arrogant and unruly, with bad character, accustomed to being pampered and indulged. Not only was she not grateful for Fang's upbringing, but she actually resented her. The next morning, Anki stormed into my room, warning me not to betray her business collaboration with Xiaoyu. With one hand, she clutched her luggage, and with the other, Fang's wallet, looking as if she were about to flee. King, don't say too much about my business to my mother, or I won't spare you. Especially about my partnership with Xiaoyu, you must not tell anyone. If you ruin my money-making scheme, I'll make you pay. I obediently nodded, feigning fear of her doing something drastic. But she didn't know that the phone camera hidden under my blanket had recorded everything she just said. I'm not stupid. She stole Fang's money. If I don't keep some evidence, who knows if she'll turn around and say I took it? After Anki left, I registered an account on the second-hand platform with a male profile picture. I pretended to be a lecherous customer, lurking in the comment section under Xiaoyu's sales posts. Beauty, how much to sell? I'm not short on money. If the goods are good, I'll place an order immediately. Very quickly, I received a private message from the other party, asking me to send a selfie to verify my identity. I randomly found a selfie of a rather obscure middle-aged man online. A few minutes later, the other party messaged me privately, telling me to join a group for detailed discussions. Xiaoyu had previously revealed to me that they had a large group with over 1,000 members, a very rich source of customers, which explained their high income. And after thoroughly investigating, I finally learned Xiaoyu's account information. Now, it was as if I had infiltrated the enemy's ranks. Know yourself, know your enemy, and you'll win 100 battles. As soon as I entered the group, I was overwhelmed by the sample videos of sellers flying around everywhere. I scrolled up and saw a familiar face, Anki. In the video, she wore black fishnet stockings with nothing else covering her body, lying prone on a toilet lid, performing obscene and disgusting movements. In the group, all sorts of demons and monsters were incredibly excited by these young bodies, using all kinds of vulgar and lewd language to comment. I took out my backup phone and recorded all the videos, images, and chat history in the group, saving them as evidence. This group owner, Xiaoyu Chen, quickly transferred money to order. Seeing that I wasn't responding, she kicked me out of the group. It seemed this was no longer simply playing vague games and selling used underwear, but rather an act of disseminating obscene material, a truly criminal offense. No wonder Xiaoyu was so secretive, always refusing to give me her account information. Meanwhile, after Anki ran away from home, Xiaoyu pulled her into sharing a rented room. The two of them claimed they were fully committed to building their careers and would no longer need to secretly hide from their parents while filming indecent videos at home. And Xiaoyu also sent me messages, urging me to quickly finish my graduation thesis and move out to rent a place with them. I had a premonition that the fate of my previous life would soon befall Anki. I quickly returned home, packed my bags, and decided to move entirely into the university dorms. That way, I wouldn't have to worry about my safety anymore. The result was that as soon as I went downstairs, I encountered a strange woman grabbing Anki's shirt, refusing to let her go, and screaming, "This shameless slut! How dare you seduce my husband online and even send him your underwear? How disgusting! Come here, everyone, come look at the video she sent seducing my husband. So young and already no sense of shame. Today, I'll teach you a lesson, old woman." The woman was burly, her biceps 3 times the size of Anki's. She grabbed Anki by the collar. Anki in her hands was like a chick, completely powerless to resist. The woman spat in Anki's face, forcing her to raise her head to face the judgment of the passers-by. Anki broke down, crying loudly, calling for help from those around her. "I don't know her. Xiaoyu, help me, call the police. HMPH, you still won't admit you seduced my husband, and you dare call the police." The woman pulled a crumpled pair of lacy underwear from her bag and shoved it directly into Anki's mouth. Her eyes darted towards Xiaoyu, and she immediately yelled at her friends beside her. "Quick, grab that one in the red shirt. She's also a slut. They're in it together. Quick, grab her." Xiaoyu was strong too, struggling with the 2 people trying to catch her. It wasn't until someone in the crowd shouted to call the police that the group let go of Anki and Xiaoyu, climbed onto their electric motorcycles, and sped away. Anki's face had several bloody scratches, looking terrifying. She looked at Xiaoyu with an unfriendly and suspicious gaze. "Xiaoyu, before, when strange men called to harass me, you said it was random. Now someone's wife found me and recognized my face. If it wasn't you who revealed my personal information, then who was it?" Xiaoyu, still stunned on the ground, grew furious after Anki's continuous questioning. How dare you speak? If you hadn't called for my help just now, would they have mistaken me for your accomplice and beaten me too? This time, Anki no longer seemed to trust Xiaoyu. She coldly snorted, leaving a warning, "It better not have been you, or I won't let you off the hook." Then she turned and walked away. The two parted ways unhappily. A few days later, Xiaoyu approached me, in a very anxious state, urging me to collaborate with her. It was then I learned that she and Anki had fallen out. After the last incident, Anki had created her own account and invited several like-minded classmates to join her, stealing more than half of Xiaoyu's customer base. I seized the opportunity to add fuel to the fire. A few days ago, I saw Anki getting into a sports car. I wasn't sure if I should tell you, but that man seemed to be the rich ex-boyfriend you once bragged about on social media. Xiaoyu was agitated by the three words, ex-boyfriend. I knew that after university, Xiaoyu had dated a rich boyfriend. She secretly earned dirty money, but in front of her rich boyfriend, she always maintained a pure and innocent image. But Anki had ruined everything. Anki had mistakenly sent Xiaoyu's indecent photos and videos to her rich boyfriend. Moreover, Anki was sweet-talking and better at faking innocence than Xiaoyu. The rich boyfriend quickly fell into Anki's arms. Xiaoyu tried every trick to win him back, but he cruelly rejected her. Hearing me mention her ex-boyfriend and Anki, Xiaoyu's eyes flared with hatred. Just you wait, I won't let her gloat. If she can't live without men, then I'll find a few men to serve her well. Indeed, Xiaoyu used the same trick she had used against me in my previous life, applying it wholesale to Anki. On her way home that evening, she was followed by several burly perverted men. They dragged her into the hallway and relentlessly tormented her. In my previous life, I was also arbitrarily bullied by these evil people, powerless to resist. Anki screamed for help until her throat was hoarse. Eventually her cries reduced to weak moans. I clutched my phone, listening to the commotion in the hallway, until the urgent sound of police sirens echoed from downstairs. Anki was luckier than I, and I ultimately couldn't be as heartless as she was. The police arrived quite promptly. Anki wasn't severely injured, but she was completely terrified, her mind a bit panicked. After the report was filed back at home, Fang shouted loudly, "Who told you to call the police? How dare you call the police about such a disgraceful matter? Where will your father's and my reputation go?" Anki, with disheveled hair and tear-streaked face, sat on the sofa, her eyes vacant. Hearing Fang's words, she finally reacted slightly, her voice hoarse. "Mom, what did you just say?" "Slap!" Fang slapped Anki across the face, making her stagger. "Those perverts didn't go looking for anyone else, they came for *you. It's surely because you're indecent outside that you brought this disaster upon yourself. You've made us lose all our face, and you still dare to cry here." Anki completely collapsed, clutching her head and screaming frantically. Her desolate cries echoed in the quiet night, sounding particularly chilling. Fang, without hesitation, called the police station directly, coercively having her taken to a psychiatric hospital. As she left, Anki's eyes were bloodshot, her gaze at Fang filled with bitter resentment. She struggled and resisted incessantly, her fingernails almost scratching the door frame, refusing to go for dear life. Finally, Fang yelled at the doctors to give her a sedative shot, and only then did she quiet down. I watched it all coldly, my heart unruffled. I recalled years ago, my pregnant mother being continuously terrorized by Fang's calls, forcing her to yield her position. Ultimately, after giving birth to me, she suffered from postpartum depression and jumped to her death. Now, Fang personally sent the daughter she was so proud of to a mental hospital. It was karma, so to speak. After Xiaoyu learned that Anki had been hospitalized, she was in high spirits. On the phone, she gloated to me with immense excitement. "I always knew Anki would have a day like this. A girl who goes around seducing other people's boyfriends and sleeping around indiscriminately deserves to be violated. She dared to steal from me. Now she's learned her lesson, hasn't she?" I didn't say a word, quietly watching the phone screen, which was flashing, recording call. Xiaoyu chattered on for over an hour during this call, mostly cursing Anki. It seemed she truly hated her to the bone. This was exactly what I wanted. The more vehemently Xiaoyu cursed now, the fiercer the storm she would face later. In the hospital room, I carried a fruit basket to visit Anki. She stared blankly at the ceiling, her entire body like a lifeless doll. Seeing me enter, her eyes reddened, carrying a hint of pleading, and her throat emitted a faint sound. Kinking, tell the doctor I'm not mentally ill. I want to get out, I want to get out. I feigned heartache, quickly stepped to her bedside, took her hand, and said earnestly, Your father and I have both pleaded with Auntie Fang, but she's adamant about keeping you here. I have no way to help. The light in Anki's eyes extinguished. I changed the subject, continuing, Anki, it's good for you to be here. If you go out, you'll be in even more danger. Anki looked at me, confused, while I took out the recording of my previous calls with Xiaoyu, turned down the volume, and placed it near her ear. That night, images of being bullied and humiliated flashed back in her mind. Anki became completely frantic, continuously mumbling, Xiaoyu Chen, it was you, haha. The doctors and nurses immediately rushed in upon hearing the commotion. I left, satisfied. The rest was up to Anki's strength. In this life, I intended to spare no one. A week later, at her school gate, Xiaoyu encountered Anki, dressed in patient clothes. Anki blocked her path, pulled a filthy pair of underwear from her bag, and flung it straight at Xiaoyu's neck. Why did you harm me? Why did you harm me? I'll strangle you, you wretch, I'll strangle you. Xiaoyu, quite strong, pushed Anki to the ground. Wiping her hand, which was now stained with the unknown scent from the underwear, she said with a mix of anger and hatred, Anki, you deserve what you got today. You're a woman who can't live without men. Why didn't those perverts just kill you? And now you come running to me going crazy? Where's security? Quickly, get her. Just as Xiaoyu finished speaking, she suddenly collapsed to her knees. A piercing scream erupted from the crowd, followed by noisy shouts. Murder, murder! Call the police, call the police. Half a fruit knife was plunged directly into Xiaoyu's side, dark red blood gushing onto the ground, a truly horrifying sight. The ambulance arrived very promptly. Although Xiaoyu was severely injured, she survived. Later, I learned that on that day, Xiaoyu wasn't the only one Anki stabbed. There was another victim, Anki's biological mother, Fang. Anki had gone home first, stabbed Fang, and then came to the school gate to find Xiaoyu. Fang wasn't as lucky as Xiaoyu. She had lost too much blood before being discovered and died on the way to the hospital. Xiaoyu remained hospitalized for a full month. During this time, she even forced herself to write a letter requesting a reduced sentence for Anki, handing it to the investigators. Her reason was that her cousin had a mental illness and had just lost her mother, and she herself had used provocative language, so she was also at fault. She hoped the judge would be lenient. But I knew this was a deal between her and Anki. Anki held evidence of Xiaoyu selling used underwear and sending vulgar videos to customers. If Xiaoyu didn't write the letter for a reduced sentence, Anki would expose everything, completely destroying her. The moment Xiaoyu was discharged, I was entrusted by my aunt to pick her up from the hospital. The instant she saw me, tears welled up in her eyes. She hurried towards me, her face seemingly holding countless grievances she wanted to air. Cousin, you came to pick me up, you're so good to me. I made a gesture as if to help her up. The moment her body leaned towards me, I immediately sidestepped. She fell straight to the ground again. I covered my mouth in feigned shock. Oh, Xiaoyu, are you okay? Xiaoyu clutched her wound, gritting her teeth as she sat on the ground, her face contorted in unbearable pain, looking at me with a bewildered gaze. Sis, what are you doing? I smirked, gently helping the person on the ground up, my eyes falling on several police officers approaching from a distance. In a volume only she and I could hear, I said, Xiaoyu, don't you think Anki Liu is the only one who has evidence of your crimes? I probably know even more about what you've done than Anki does. Xiaoyu looked at me in disbelief, her voice trembling slightly. Kinking, sis, you're joking with me, right? My mother treated you so well, and I considered you my own sister. Why would you treat me like this? My gaze was as cold as ice, devoid of any warmth. Did you really see me as your own sister? From childhood to adulthood, every toy Auntie gave me, wasn't it either broken or ruined by you? Even the little kitten Auntie eventually gave me, wasn't it you who killed it? In your heart, the person you truly wanted to kill was me, wasn't it? The last mask on Xiaoyu's face shattered. She aggressively hurled the exact same words at me as in my previous life. Kinking Liu, that's right, I hate you. I always wanted to destroy you. Your mother died because of your bad luck. Why did you come to steal my mother? What I hate most is that you always want to compete with me. You're prettier than me, you have better grades than me, and you're even more loved by my parents. From childhood to adulthood, I hated nothing more than having things stolen from me. You stole so many things from me, I just wanted to destroy you. What's wrong with that? I silently listened to her finish these words. feeling both amused and pathetic. It turns out that extreme jealousy and comparison, born and growing in one's darkness, can truly destroy all their goodness, making them warped and distorted. The investigators had approached Xiaoyu, handcuffing her. Ms. Chen, someone has accused you of disseminating obscene material for profit and inciting others to sexually assault women. Please cooperate with the investigation and come with us. Xiaoyu was ultimately sentenced to 15 years in prison, and the customers in her group also did not escape the punishment of the law. All of them were arrested by the police. I slowly walked out of the courthouse, looking up at the sky, seeing only the sun hanging high in the air, radiating an incredibly brilliant light. I took a deep breath, myriad emotions swirling in my heart. Justice resides in the human heart. All past grievances had now closed with the court's verdict. I knew that from this moment on, I had to completely bid farewell to my dark past, taking big steps towards my new life, searching for a future full of hope and sunshine.